RWBY Volume 4 World of Remnant Episode 1 Vale. Now, I actually saw this as the second World of Remnant episode. I actually saw the one for Mistral first. Or not for Mistral, but for Atlas first. And I just thought that was the first one that came out. I thought there were only 2 out. And then I was like, oh no, that was like the 3rd episode and I'm all out of order. So when you if you end up checking out that review, I'm gonna put it up the original version. But I was so excited because it was like the first thing that I'd seen for Volume 4. I was so excited. I'm still gonna put it up, even though I kept saying that it was the first episode. I'm still gonna put it up. So if you want to check that out, you can do that. I'm of course gonna do a review for all the World of Remnant episodes, but this one starts off really good. I made a lot of points in my other thing because it was the first time I heard it, but the first thing I have to mention is the fact that Crow has taken over. There is no Ozpin for this volume. I would assume it'll last the whole volume, but I thought it was really cool. It's a part of the lore. It makes a ton of sense, which I think is a really great concept for it, that it actually fits with the lore, which means that next volume may not even be Crow. I hope that's not the case. Or Ozpin takes over, just that where they both live. But I don't know. Things have been dark. We'll see. But this was a cool episode. You know, we get Vale. First thing, or the second thing I would really love to mention that I don't believe they've ever talked about before is that the Faunas have their own location. The Faunas actually have a location outside of the Four Kingdoms and the dragon-based area on the planet. And that's that little tiny bottom right corner called Menagerie. I thought that was cool. I'd never heard that before, at least not that I recalled. And I was like, that's actually amazing. I never knew that they had their own location. I just thought the Faunas go around, and I'm going to kind of go through this again, excuse me, as I do this review. But I just thought it was like, you know, the Faunas just live with the rest of the humans and whatever Crow and Raven are going to be considered. And that was pretty much all there was to it. So they're accepted in some places, they're not accepted in other places. That's it. I never would have expected that they owned their own. They're Australia, kind of. That Dragon Island, as well as Atlas, that's also technically separated. And so is, I think that's Mistral is the other place that's separated. So I guess a lot of the locations are separate, but I didn't expect the Faunas to have their own location. So I don't know if we'll get to see that this volume. I kind of doubt it, especially with such a drastic change. I don't think they're going to be focusing too much on the grand scheme of the world. But at some point, I think we're going to be going to Menagerie, which I just think is great. Like an island of faunas just seems really cool. And with us having, you know, part of our main villains, or at least, you know, our main villains involving the White Fang, especially now that Adam, you know, has made his reappearance, the White Fang is going to be even more important because I don't think Adam's dying based on what I saw. I don't think he'll be dying anytime soon. So at some point we're going to get to go to that island. It might not be for a couple more volumes, but when I saw that, I was like, that is freaking sweet. I don't think they've mentioned that before. And they may have said the name, but it's not like, oh, that's, you know, Menagerie. It's this totally separated island. It's Australia, you know, basically, so it's its own place. But I thought that was cool when they mentioned that. And of course they make reference to the fact that the school is no longer there. School's out, as they said in the very beginning. But it was really cool. This is a simple beginning one. Like the one that they did that I already saw for Atlas was like super intense compared to this one. This was kind of just like, this is what happened. It was a very nice, light introduction. It was a very light introduction. And it kind of has me excited because based on how Atlas was, it makes me curious if it gets darker as it goes on, kind of leading into the season, because the most recent episode is for Vacuo, and that's not on YouTube just yet, because I'm like super far behind. I didn't know they were doing this, especially like this, because last volume they did it a week before, and I was like, oh crap, that's, you know, when I first saw that it was on there, I thought that was the only thing, and I was like, oh, they have the episode for Vacuo, so they did like a special thing where they did 2 episodes, so I thought when I watched the Atlas one that was like last week's episode and it came out around the time of the RWBY Chibi finale. That's what I was thinking. And technically it did because it just came out on YouTube. So it must have been, let's see, it came out, I think it came out like yesterday, the Atlas episode on YouTube. So it was like last week, I would assume, unless they just did a really weird schedule thing. But this was a cool one. I thought, like I said, I thought this one was simple. The one I saw was much darker, and it was also about an area that we didn't really know anything about, so it was a bit more entertaining. This one, I think because they've done so much specific stuff, even within the normal series for what Beacon is and stuff like that, that there wasn't too much more to say. It was kind of just like, this is the kingdoms, the menagerie thing I thought was the most interesting part. Was like, oh, that's where the faunas live. Everything else was kind of just like, this is kind of what happens, and these are the lands, and that's really it. I didn't feel like there was too much that was like insanely new about about Vale. So it was like, all right, this is cool. This is kind of just a little thing. We got really the most important information about Vale itself, I would say, is the island patch. I feel like that'll come into play. We might see more of that stuff, and maybe if you guys haven't already checked it out, the little character thing that they did for RWBY, like the big fight, which was like the first footage they ever showed. Maybe that's one of the little towns that's probably not actually near Beacon or anything, even though I would assume it was. But I haven't watched that footage in a while, so I wasn't, especially when I first saw it, it was just off of someone's phone recording it. So I haven't, really checked that out again to see if that was close to the school or not. So maybe that was one of those little, little towns that they say that were like off the coast. But I feel like that island's gonna have some sort of relevance. So whenever there's an island, it's always something special or cool and mysterious about it. So I feel like we're going to be going to patch, at least maybe for a couple episodes or something. But that, I think, was the most interesting part about Vale specifically. But it's always good to have the show back. Like I said, I already saw the Atlas thing first, and that was like super intense when I first watched it. And this one, like I said, I think it's the perfect start, of course, for Volume 4, where it's where all our characters are, at least. It might not be where everyone's from, but it's where everyone is. Or was, I guess. And maybe they'll go back someday, maybe next volume, maybe the volume after that. Who knows how long things are going to last, but I'm excited. This has me excited, even though it's the second one I saw. It's not the first one, so I'm not like losing my mind like I was in my other video. But this was still good. And also, in that one, like I said, this was like all new information because it was for Atlas when I watched that one. And this one is like, I know a lot about Vale at this point. We've had a Remnant, or a World of Remnant episode specifically for Beacon, if I remember correctly. We've had, ones about a bunch of other stuff inside of the city and things like that, or the kingdom, I should say. I always want to say city because they all just feel like cities to me, but it's like, no, that's like a different part of the world. Like, this is the map of their world, and it's so much smaller. It's like, are they just on a tiny planet, or what? What's the deal? It just looks so small when I compare this to like the map of the planet that we're actually on. I'm like, that's so tiny. They hardly even have like two poles. They have like a North Pole, but they don't even have a South Pole. There's like this itty bitty little speck of land for like a South Pole, and it's just funny just looking at that. Like, man, there's like nothing there. Then that freaking Dragon Island, I don't even know what to think of that. That's probably where Salem is. But I like this episode. Like I said, I'm excited to watch these other two for sure because I want to learn more about this world. I'm excited to learn a lot more about what we're going to be seeing. Like I said, with this being the second one that I saw, and with it technically being the first one that came out, so it's a much lighter video, all my excitement, you guys really got to check out the Atlas one there. I was like losing my freaking mind, and they were talking about all this new stuff, and I'm like, what are we going to see this volume for World of Remnant? Which, one of the big things is that I do hope we'll get to learn more about characters like Raven and Crow because of their special abilities. That I would love to learn more about. Don't know if it's a semblance. Don't know if it's some sort of extra special thing. RWBY's got her silver eye thing going, and maybe they got something super cool and secret. Maybe we'll find out a little bit more about Raven's deal with creating like portals through space and time. Who knows? That could just be like some super epic dust. That could be a semblance. That could be technology. Who knows? Probably not technology. They can't even have worldwide internet if one tower goes down, so that it might not be technology. But it's something. It's got to be something. So I'm hoping we get some more specific stuff. But I definitely want to know what you guys thought about this episode of World of Remnant, especially with it being the first one from Volume 4. Like I said, I screwed myself over by having the wrong episode introduction. But still want to know what you guys thought about this. Plain and simple, what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it. So please comment below, let me know. And of course, thanks for watching.